We are going to jump right into our next panel, our first panel for the day, I should say. I wanted to let you know if you have friends and family that were not able to be here and you would like to share what you're doing. Maybe you're going to be doing a keynote, maybe you're on a panel, and of course want to share with family and friends that couldn't make it your award. There's actually a live stream on YouTube. If you want to take a note real quick, grab your pen. You're just going to go to YouTube. You're going to type in MARsum, M-A-R-S-U-M, of course, the title of our conference, and live stream, and it's going to come right up. You will see the graphic. Oh, the graphic was up, the white graphic that says MARsum. So awesome. You can share with your friends and family back home. So jumping right into our panel, we have a crucial panel discussion lined up for you. It's on the topic relationship between customer knowledge, marketing research, and business sales. Without further ado, let me invite on stage the session's moderator, Lisa Dennis, president of Knowledgence Associates, to initiate the discussion. Please give her a hand. Hi again, Lisa.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. That would help.
Thank you. So today's topic is so key, but I don't always think that we connect the dots as consistently as we could. So customer knowledge, research, and sales, right? At the end of the day, the first two feed the third, and that's super important. Before we get started, and I'm going to have my panel come join me. Before we get started, I just wanted to get a feel here. How many in this audience are marketing B2C? Hands up. Okay. How many are marketing B2B? Looks like a pretty even split. Okay, that's good to know. Helpful for our panelists to do that. So what we want to do is kind of break down each one of these three very crucial aspects, right, of really getting closer and being more relevant to our buyers. Because at the end of the day, relevance is everything. And to get into the head of the buyer is going to make us more relevant. So the first question I want to ask my panel is the following. I'm going to have each one of them introduce themselves and answer question one. So the first question is, because customer knowledge is a key attribute to any marketing or sales strategy, in your experience, what have been the best approaches to gaining enough insight to craft a strong marketing strategy? Can I start with you, Nicole?
Welcome, everyone. My name is Nicole Zeno. I am the founder and CEO of Clever Cow Media. We actually go into companies, small, medium, and startup and act as their C-level executive. We help them build their strategy and then help them grow and hit growth goals. We also work with startups to help them get funding and build the foundation to that. I'm also a serial entrepreneur, so I've built, sold, and exited multiple startup companies. And this is actually a really crucial question. I think it's something that we don't think about enough. At Clever Cow, we have a three-prong approach to this. We start with buyer personas at the very beginning, thinking through who are our main clients. There may be some educated guesses that need to be taken, especially working with startups who don't have current customers. And so you really kind of work through who is those ideal customers, where are they hanging out, where are they getting information from their media consumption, make those educated guesses and get that baseline. Then from there, our second part of the process is really validating those buyer personas. Because we're making some educated guesses, because we're really just hitting the ground running, we want to validate it with actual customer feedback. So once those products are out, once we start working with the customers, we want to get that feedback. So the easiest way for that is a survey, which most of us have sent out before, and really start tweaking in those buyer personas and validating the thoughts that we had. And then the third part is really thinking outside the survey, right? So this is where we get creative, especially if you don't have clients who have thousands of people buying their product. We have, for example, a client that works with CEOs and C-level executives at Fortune 100 and 500 companies, so they can't just send out a survey and get hundreds of answers back. So we had to use predictive forms. We put together their insights into the industry twice a year, and then those CEOs come and download those insights to see the numbers, and then every time they download them, they give us a little bit more information back. So finding really creative ways. We have a dispensary that has people come into the dispensary on 420. We actually gave out actual surveys there with 5 questions, and in order for them to get a special discount or a shirt, they had to answer it, and we had 475 surveys in 24 hours that we were able to actually validate all of our information from. So don't forget that buyer personas research is not set it and forget it. Make those educated guesses, put them together at the beginning, and then validate them and find really creative ways to pull in information every time you have a touch point with the customer.
That's fabulous. I mean, buyer personas at the end of the day are about behavior. What drives a buyer to make the decisions they make? Patrick, can you introduce yourself and share your insights on the customer knowledge piece?
My name is Patrick J. Tyge.
Patrick, can you put the, there we go, great.
Patrick J. Tyge, founder of the New Products Group flagship. We've been in existence for 4 decades. We've initiated over 60 major projects in business building and introducing new products. And I'm proud to say that 54% have been successful, which is almost a 90% success rate.
Can you move the microphone a little closer to your mouth?
All right.
Great, thank you.
And in addition, those projects that were successful have generated over $4 billion in new revenues for the firms that we work with. Before getting into the initial first question, I have a question for yourselves. How many of you are aware of a process called simulated test marketing?
Simulated test marketing, hands up.
I guess then none of you use them. Would that be
Yep,
correct?
it looks like very few.
All right, we don't go anywhere without that. And it's a key cornerstone for our particular success rate. And that's what we're going to be introducing to startups, businesses that have plateaued. And we'll go on from there later with the second question. The first question, which was again?
About customer knowledge, what are some of the approaches? Thank you very much, Patrick.
What we do is a 3-step process that is basically starts with a market situation analysis to map the market. We then do an incredibly detailed drill down on the copy platforms that are exhibited in the site, and they run 30 to 40 pages, and then it culminates in a concept positioning test for the new product that has over 30 questions. And this is a very intense market consumer research approach that we have not seen the startups take, and as a result, it's the principal reason that only at least, at most, 10% of startups succeed. And on the other hand, that's why we've been so successful. So it's an iterative process that basically you end up with the idea that the sum of the parts are greater than the whole. It's synergistic. And that process has worked exceptionally well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anne, so some nuggets about getting some customer insights, some customer knowledge. Please introduce yourself also.
Hi, my name is Anne. Anne Gray, and I am the CEO and founder of Anne Gray Consulting. We are a boutique agency that specializes in social media marketing and branding. And we like to think out of the box, so I am going to share some things that maybe none of you have thought of, a little bit different. We think of doing the marketing, and the marketing research starts before you talk to the client. We study all the time, and we study all the statistics and the marketing research that's out there on what's happening in the industry and what's happening with the platforms, what's happening with the trends, what's happening with the people. How has the last year affected people? What are they responding to? What is the culture like? What are the statistics that are feeding each of these, like we study video, how is it working? How are people responding to it? How is this shaping the millennials compared to Generation Z? How are they responding? And get all of that knowledge beforehand so that when we go in to talk to a client, we customize everything based on that client specifically. And let me give you an example. For instance, right now, people are responding, they're more suspicious because of what has happened in the last year and a half. They are less trusting, and they're less trusting of the media, they're less trusting of the government. They are putting their trust, and this is all based on statistics and research that we have done, that other people have done. We've researched it and read up on it. People are looking for authenticity in brands. They're looking for brands that have a person behind the brand that stands for something. And they're looking for change in our society, in brands and employers. They're not looking in the government. They're not looking to media to change society. They're looking for brands to change society. And they're looking for authenticity. So they're responding to brands that have a person with an authentic voice that stands for something. And so based on that, we know we can shape their marketing strategy in a certain way because we know what people are responding to. And so that's just a tiny nugget of how we can approach, because that's all based on facts that we have studied ahead of time. And then we go into the more in-depth study, like the personal persona and all of that once we start talking to them. But we already know the marketing research ahead of time, which gives us a leg up whenever we're discussing it with the client. We can educate them on this is what people are responding to, this is how they're responding, and this is kind of the type of strategy that we need to adjust our thinking to. And because we have that knowledge ahead of time, we can base everything on facts instead of on opinions, which I think is vital, because when you base things on facts, you get results. And when you base things on opinions, then you have to test, and you don't know what's going to succeed or not succeed. So marketing research is imperative in everything that we as marketers do, because if you know what results will come from doing things a certain way, then you know you can get the same results.
Great, thank you very much, Ann. Dave.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, can they hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm Dave Macon. I run Nexus 6. We're an Iowa-based agency. Kind of a big deal. I'm kind of known as the Des Moines Don Draper. So if you want, I'll be signing pictures after the session.
I'm his manager.
She takes her cut for sure. I guess my market research is the fact that we're a big proponent of getting past a lot of kind of the spreadsheets and analytics and understanding that people at their core are people. So understanding kind of market is, regardless of title, understanding kind of how it resonates with the end user is kind of the biggest thing. So rather than, because we've talked about building personas and all that, and I like to, Nate, who's over there, say, hey, Nate. Hi, Nate. We do a lot of networking like this. So we meet people. So we become, we get to know people. We get to understand kind of the motivations. And really that's kind of our best kind of way of market research is, beyond title or targeting this or that in industries, it's what make people tick. Because regardless of what you're selling or, who you are, at the end of the day, people don't buy from a company name. I mean, we could change our name to Nexus 7. Nate and I are still the people that are going to be the ones that they interact with and the ones they want to buy from.
Great, thank you. I'm just going to add my 2 cents. Think of your company and its offerings. Think that you're sitting in a tent, all right? Your company is a tent. And you got the flap open and you're looking out and you see, animals walking by and birds and all of that, all of your prospects, okay? What I really think is important, and I do a ton of account-based marketing, okay? So that's the place I'm coming from, is step out of the tent. Step outside of your own company, your own offering, and look at the environment and learn the environment that your prospects and customers are being faced with. All of the market dynamics, innovations, disruptors, issues, challenges, right? What are the things that are forcing them to make decisions? Leave yourself out of the picture. All you're doing is going out in there and learning. Then take a step closer to the accounts that you're going after. What do you have for information in-house about each of those, right? And look at where your gaps are. What additional things do we need to understand? And the third kind of piece of that is now really dive into the stakeholders. I think a lot of us market to the masses, and it's really hard to get out a relevant, cogent message to everyone. One size does not fit all. I have a closet of stuff like that, right? So get closer, get outside the tent. Okay, next question that I want to ask my illustrious panel. Let's go a little bit deeper on research, okay? How does research play a part in building that brand or product service message that will truly engage your buyer? Can you start us off, Nicole?
Yeah, so I have my marketing assistant here today, and she's probably gonna cringe at this answer because about 1 million times a week, I stop conversations with customers, with my team. It's in our spreadsheets. The first 2 things we always ask is, who are we messaging to? Who should this message go out to? And why? Why do they care about it? So I'm like that 3-year-old kid who's constantly just asking why, and I think my customers hate me for it, but they love it at the same time, right? We, a lot of times as marketers, we go out there and we market based on the features or the things we care about or that we've put a lot of time and effort or the company has put a lot of time and effort in, especially in startups. I work a lot in startup world. And we use this also with investor funding, right? Why should this investor care about the product that we're putting out there? It's the same thing with a customer and a specific buyer persona. If we keep marketing based on, oh, we put a lot of time and money and effort into this feature and it's great for us, then we're not going to really hit them where their pain points are. So this research is really filling in the points of where are they consuming their media, where are they consuming their advertising, and then what are their pain points? I could have one product that if the buyer persona that I am hitting is a single mom, they're gonna probably care more about the budget and the pricing than if the same product being marketed and to a CEO level person who maybe makes a lot of money is gonna care more about efficiency and how that feature fixes their efficiency issue. And this could be as simple as cloning the same email and changing out the header or the main point or the subject line, right, to hit the pain point that that person feels. But without that data, without clean data, without validating the data, without even thinking through your buyer personas down to where they're spending their time, their money, their effort, without thinking through those pieces and constantly updating them, you don't have those answers. So when you're thinking about a campaign, whether it's video, email, social, whatever it is, have those pieces in your spreadsheet before you even build the content, before you design the images, because each of those pieces should hit a pain point that that person you're trying to sell to, whether it's an investor, a customer, a salesperson, whatever it is, a B2C, B2B, all of them have reasons they're going to buy from you. What is those reasons? Ask the whys.
Great, thank you. Patrick. Close up so we can all hear you.
Nicole mentioned pain points. We call that the problem. And what we've learned through going through 50 concept tests, what influences the buyer to the greatest point of saying, yes, I want to buy that product. And what came out overwhelmingly was the problem statement. And what we normally do in our concept work that we test is we have a USP statement up front, and right after that, we state the problem. And then we ask them later on in the research, do you have that problem? And if so, what grade of problem is this for you? Is it very much somewhat? And what we've learned is that if you get the problem up front and it's relative to the target market audience, you get them mentally kind of just nodding their head. And that's setting up to give them the proper solution. And that 1-2 step is probably the primary reason that we have such a high success rate. And we encourage you to look at what your problem definition is that you're solving, because other research shows that 49% of the startups fail because there is no product need, that there is no problem. So that's why we concentrate intensely on defining the problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Ann.
Hi. I don't think you can do too much market research. There is so much research out there on things, for example, how does the brain work? What causes people's neurons to light up in their brain? What kind of message do you need to give them that causes the neurons to light up in their brain? And then whenever those neurons light up, there's a release of what I call happy endorphins. The serotonin and those endorphins, like when you work out, you get that release of happy endorphins. There are certain messages that if you give that message correctly, then you can cause that same release of happy endorphins. And when you do that, then they get that rush of that good feeling. And they don't know why they had that rush of that good feeling, but they know that when they experienced your brand and they experienced your content, they felt good and they liked it. And so that makes them want to share it, and that makes them want to bookmark it and then want to come back to it. And that makes them want to respond to it and engage with it. And so then they want to save your brand, and they like your brand. And companies like Tom's Shoes and Bamboo Socks and companies like that, they have learned to this concept, but they don't know that they're doing it, I don't think. And so if we learn this concept and things like that and do the market research behind things like that, different ways that people respond to different content, then we can get a response from people, and they will return to the brands that we're marketing, and they won't even know why they're doing it. They just know that they like it.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, big deal, Dave. Talk to us.
Blow everyone's mind. So when I think of marketing research, I think of when people talk about reach, and there's some kind of more traditional magazine publishers in town, and they say, oh, well, we have a total reach of this. But when I think of actually doing this research honestly, I think we're in it now with technology, it's a great position because if doing the research enables us to tell a more compelling story to the right audience. I always, and as I was saying to you yesterday, I always kind of look at it as if you're trying to sell a greasy hamburger to 1 million vegans, right? You've got some phenomenal reach, but who's going to buy it, right? All you have to do is show it to Nate, and you've made a sale, right? No pickles. He hates pickles. I don't know. I always look at. I also look at my kids. I think my kids are probably the best salespeople I know, because they will convince me to buy them anything, regardless of how ridiculous it is, because they know who they're talking to. They've done the research. They know. Right. They know me. They know the audience, and they know that if they just talk to me enough about it, I'll just cave in and I'll do it. So they're amazing. But yeah, so no, as I said, I think understanding your audience, understanding the research is understanding your audience and being able to tell a more compelling story. Because it's not a secret, people aren't too concerned with facts. People don't make decisions based on facts. They're not really swayed about it. They've already generally made up their own opinion of something, so they're looking for something that will kind of confirm that. So if you can understand that audience and tell them a story that is already compelling and they've already on board with, that's kind of where that magic happens.
Thank you. So when I look at research, I want to get two things out of it. So I'm going to kick the door open a little bit. Pain points, absolutely. But what if they don't have any pain? What if it isn't a problem? Buyers also are looking for advantage. They're looking for new ways to do things. They're looking for an idea they don't have. They're looking for growth, right? So it may be more than a pain point. I've been in technology, marketing, and sales for way too long, and I've seen way too many pain points reverse engineered from a piece of technology that we weren't really sure the buyers actually wanted, but we had it and we wanted to sell it. So I think from the research point of view, think about what problems we're solving, but also think about what advantages is that audience looking for, right? How do we make them better? I think we need to look at both sides from a research perspective. The other thing that you want to get out of that research is a theme or a set of themes that you can plug into all of your messaging. Maybe there's a core theme across all of your buyers, and then you're going to obviously subset from there to talk about the technology people and maybe the financial people and the marketing people so that you can version it. But having messaging that drives both from the marketing and the sales side, that's all tied to a core theme, is much more cogent. And to Dave's point, helps you build a better story. Okay, third question. So let's talk another slice of audiences. Marketers, all of us, actually have two audiences, right? The buyer is only one of them. The other audience that's super important, that often stands between us and the ultimate sale, is the salespeople. So you have that audience that you also have to market and sell to, right? So using the customer insights, right, that knowledge, and the research that we're doing as marketers, what kinds of ideas do you have about enabling sales to carry that message to the buyers we're going after? Nicole.
Yeah, this is wow, this is a loaded question.
Absolutely.
And I've worked in organizations that are complete startups all the way through multi-billion-dollar companies, and every one of them, has a little bit of issue with sales and marketing alignment. So when you're talking about sales enablement, it really depends on what stage your company is in. And then also it depends on who, once again, we're talking to, right? So we keep talking about this market research and all this data that we are gaining, and think of that as like the tools in your tool belt, or like Batman going out and fighting crime. He's not going to go without his tools, right? He's not going to just go out and hand-to-hand combat. We use this data as tools, whether it's the customer, It's the consumer of the product. So when I say customer, I'm in an agency. So a lot of times my customers are the products themselves, the companies themselves. So whether it's the company, the customer of the actual product, an investor, it is the sales team, you are selling, you're using the data as tools, right? So when you're talking to your customers from an agency perspective, if you're trying to convince them to spend their money in certain spots in marketing, being able to come in with that data and say, this is what this group of people you want to sell to care about. This is where they're consuming their media, is going to get you way further than saying, I have a feeling, or this other company did this, right? It's the same thing with the sales team, really looking at where are these people consuming media. So I had a client come to me, he's an engineer, and he wanted to do Facebook ads. But he sells to engineers who are not on Facebook. My brother's an engineer. He's not a social media person. You're not going to find them very often on social media. And I said to him, well, would we take out an ad in a parenting magazine? Like, would that be a good spot? And he said no. And I said, then why are we putting money into Facebook ads? Let's find where they are. Where are they consuming that media? And then build content, and when I say content, I don't just mean blogs and social, but build, whatever content and tools it's gonna take to get your salespeople off the ground, to get in front of the people who you are looking for. So this data is going to allow us to really make good decisions about where the money's going, where are we building content and effort, and then enabling sales, your customers, the team, the website, whatever pieces of technology and product you have to really thrive. So just think of it as your toolbox. The data cannot be any more important than the research and the time you put into it is going to be worth it 100%.
Great, thank you. Patrick.
Speaking about tools, it's interesting that coming from a consumer packaged goods background, Dole, Brown & Williamson, and J&J, all of these companies use simulated test markets. They don't go to in-market testing for the most part. This is the ultimate tool because it answers both of the questions we've been asked to discuss. First is that buyers, and this system has been around now for 40 years, are well aware of simulated test markets. If you walk in with an AC Nielsen Basis forecast, they know that they're going to get a product volume that is plus or minus based on the research that's been conducted. So you already make a friend of the salesperson because you've just made his job so much easier by having this tool presented to the buyers that know the veracity of the research, and you get an immediate head nod, yes, I'm ready to go. And for startups, that's particularly important because the buyers know that less than 10% of startups are going to be successful, and you're bringing them the ultimate proof of concept.
Thank you, Patrick. Good point about not bringing them right to market. Doing the testing, amazing. Anne.
I agree with Nicole about your tools. The insights and the research are your tools that are going to define exactly who you're going to market to, how you're going to market it, what style of content you're going to create, exactly how you're going to form that content, because millennials think differently than a baby boomer, and they respond differently, and they respond to content differently, and you find them in different places. And I'll give you an example. And this research, when you start going deep into the research, you can really, really hone in on what type of content to make. For instance, we do almost 100% video. So we find from the research that millennials like smiling faces. So whenever we make a video, we put smiling faces in the videos. We don't use any content that has someone's back to them, or, they're frowning or anything like that. We have happy people, happy smiling faces. Millennials like to watch video with the sound on. Interesting, huh? I didn't know that, but I did find that out. And so music in the video is crucial to a millennial because they're listening with the sound on. So you can create a mood and use the psychology of music in your video to move them, because music is so powerful. And we find millennials don't on Instagram, they don't necessarily go to the news feed. They go to stories or reels and they just play it and they just watch it play. From our research, we found that out. And so stories and reels are really crucial if we're marketing to a millennial or a Generation Z. So if we didn't have that research in our tool belt, then we would create our, we would not know how to create the content that we're creating. We wouldn't know how to put it together. And so finding out that market research ahead of time is so crucial. It's just like when we're here in Vegas, it's interesting. If you go down the strip and you look at all the videos on all the billboards, everyone is completely different and completely unique. They know who they're marketing to. So they create a different type of video each one creates a different type of video because they have a different audience and they already know who their audience is. So they're trying to reach that particular audience. They aren't trying to reach everyone. They're only trying to reach their audience. And so that's just some examples of how you can use these tools in your tool belt to create your content and how crucial those insights and that marketing is.
Thanks, Ann. Dave?
So many years ago, before I started the company, I was in copier sales. Eventually had to step away because they introduced color and it became just a bit too intense. It was a fast-paced industry. When I worked in the copier sales, everything was so detail-focused. And it's about as boring as you could imagine it being. I mean, they wanted you to talk about printer speed, how many pages a minute it could print, and you just see people's eyes glaze over, which I'm sure many of there are now. And what I took from that is that this was kind of the standard for the salespeople, is talk to people about all the details of these copiers. But if you look at kind of classic storytelling, even back to the days of even cave drawings, right, which you can almost consider kind of the first social media posts, because it was communicating with their community. You see cave drawings, and what was it? It was stick man, right, with a pointed stick, and then some big-looking scary animal. And it was just telling people, like, hey, there's something out there with big, sharp teeth, and you should be aware, be wary of it. There wasn't much detail to it, but people kind of got it. They understood what they were trying to bring across. And we were actually just talking about it yesterday. We were talking about the movie Jaws. I mean, who's seen the movie Jaws? Right, everyone? It's a classic. The best story of that movie is the fact that they couldn't get Bruce, the model shark, to work properly, and it looked terrible on camera. So the whole movie is based on the fact of you never see the shark until the very end, and that was kind of by design, because you let the audience kind of put into their own imagination what it looks like, right? So again, less is more. So when we present something, you weave that story to let people put their own imagination into place. And I think that's a lot what's missing from sales teams, is that we try to get them to unload as much of this kind of knowledge dump as possible, whereas it's just off-putting. Whereas if you can paint a picture and then let people kind of fill in the details themselves, they get themselves excited, and once they've sold themselves, it's kind of an easy close.
Great. So the way I think about this is I believe that as marketers, we've got to take a bit of ownership in the sales enablement piece, okay? So lots of great data to kind of go back to what Nicole was saying. Salespeople's most scarce resource is time. So giving them data, most of them don't have the time or the ability to analyze it, right? They're like running at 100 miles an hour. So as marketers, we've got to draw the insights out. We got to figure out what it means. We got to serve up those meanings to them in a way that they can pull it into conversations, whether it's an inside salesperson or an outside salesperson, right? Even if there isn't a salesperson, even if the sales conversation is happening online, right? Engaging with your brand. And so we got to really work the data so that it's not just data. That's the first part. The second part is, I'd love to challenge all of us as we're building out campaigns to ask the question, what do our salespeople need to activate this in the field? And if you don't know, ask them. So rather than just throwing the campaign out there and just totally thinking about the buyer, you got to think about the salespeople who are trying to actually engage in a conversation. So I think there should be a sales activation piece in every campaign you do. I'm going to challenge you all to do that. All right, I'm going to put my entire panel on the spot now and ask them something I have not prepared them for. Are we game for that? Here we go. All right. So I will take the first answer to give you all seconds to come up with yours. When you think about the nexus of customer knowledge and research and sales, what are the three words that you think that come to mind? 3 words. The ones that I'll come up with are line of sight. I want a line of sight directly to my buyers in each of their segments, right? Because I don't want to look at all of them in one big crowd, right? Line of sight to all my key decision makers, my influencers. I want a line of sight to what my salespeople need. I want a line of sight to the advantages my audience is looking for, as well as the pain points. Okay, I'm going to open this up. Which of you have 3 words you want to share? Who wants, Nicole? Go for it.
I can start. Well, of course, my first one's going to be why. Why do they care, right? And I sometimes say that in a not so nice way to people, but like, why should they care? Why are they buying this product? Why are they even looking at your email? Like, what out of this are they getting? The second one would be focus. I think that we, as marketers, there are so many different ways we can market. And clients generally come to us saying, I need social media, I need video, I need this. And I like to take the step back and say, okay, those are, once again, tools that we use to get to that we execute the strategy, but who can we focus on, and why are we using those certain tools to get there? Like, let's do this backwards. And then the third one is journey. Once again, I think there's a lot of panelists who have said this. The customer journey is going to be the number one thing. And it's not just the customers. If we talk about salespeople, investors, internal people, like the journey from starting an idea all the way through buying that product is going to be major. We can do as much marketing and have amazing viral campaigns, but if they come to that website and they can't buy that product, or the salespeople don't have the tools to speak about the product or answer the questions of the customer, or the investors can't understand why they need to invest in this product and how the market's going to change with it, then you're missing a point and you're not going to get the conversion. So yes, marketing kind of ends in certain places of the customer journey, but we really need to think through to the complete end of that journey.
Thanks. Patrick, what are your 3 words?
What I'm thinking of is case history for Dole Foods. When we went in there, this is in the 80s, they only had bananas and pineapples and canned pineapple juice and fruit. They were really a production-driven company, and we introduced the methodologies that I mentioned before, including simulated test market. And because they did not know that the trade was well aware of simulated test markets, there was a little bit of pushback. But as soon as we did our first pineapple juice line in frozen refrigerated glass and walked in with STM results to all the major trade factors, and they all nodded their head and they got instant ACV distribution, we made a convert of them and also the financial department in terms of utilizing this relatively new at that time methodology.
Thank you. 1, 2, 3, Ann.
My 3 words are educate. I believe we need to educate people on the reason behind why we're doing it, the way that we're doing it, and the facts and the market research. And I think if we equip them, then that's my second one, by the way. I think if we equip them with that education, then they are going to understand the strategy and why we're choosing the strategy that we're choosing. And my third word is thrown in there as a kind of a unusual one, but it's emotion. Daniel Kahneman won the Nobel Peace Prize by proving that people don't think with logic, they think with emotion. And only 10% of decisions are made with logic. And we should, I think all of us understand that people make their decisions, their buying decisions by emotion. And so we can't lose that aspect of equipping our salespeople with the understanding that emotion plays a huge part of the way people make decisions, so that we're not throwing facts out there because people aren't making decisions logically necessarily. They're making decisions by emotion. So our marketing needs to be emotional marketing, and then first and foremost, and then fact-based behind it.
Thank you. Dave?
I think my 3 words would be, what's the story? I feel like once you understand that, all the other kind of pieces start coming together. I think if you can have a compelling story, then there's a reason for doing what you're doing or what you're trying to sell. If you can't come up with a compelling story, it's probably a good indication that it's not going to work.
Love it, love it, love it. I want to thank our panel. We're hopeful that we gave you some things to think about and some ideas to try to get as close a line of sight to your buyers as you can. Thank you very much.